Hello and welcome. Tonight, let us drift gently into the quiet, fascinating world of ancient mapmakers. Imagine yourself in a small, warm room filled with the soft scent of parchment and ink. Outside, the sun sets slowly over distant hills, and a gentle breeze whispers through open windows. Perhaps you hear the faint crackle of a fire or the distant toll of a bell from a nearby town. Tonight, we will wander through the world of those who charted the Earth, long before satellites or GPS. They traced coastlines, rivers, and mountains with steady hands, guided by curiosity, imagination, and careful observation. So, take a slow breath, settle deeper into your pillow, and let your mind drift along the quiet paths of history. In ancient times, mapmakers lived quiet, deliberate lives. They were often scholars, scribes, or travelers who combined careful observation with imagination. Their tools were simple: parchment or vellum, ink made from natural dyes, and finely carved pens. Some used compasses, astrolabes, or measuring ropes, carefully noting distances between towns or landmarks. Most mapmakers worked in calm rooms or libraries, surrounded by scrolls, books, and charts from other lands. Some traveled slowly across forests, along rivers, or by gentle seas, observing the curves of hills, the twists of rivers, and the shifting shapes of coastlines. Each line they drew was not just a mark on paper, but a story of the world as they saw it, a careful blending of fact and imagination. Mapmakers often began by sketching what they knew best: the rivers and mountains near their homes. Rivers were traced with gentle curving lines, reflecting the flow of water. Mountains were represented by tiny hills or peaks, drawn carefully in rows or clusters. Sometimes, mapmakers relied on travelers' stories. Merchants, pilgrims, and sailors shared details of distant lands, their voices soft and measured as they described landscapes far beyond the mapmaker's own sight. A map might show a forest dotted with tiny trees, a village beside a sparkling river, or a mountain whose peaks seemed to scrape the sky. Each detail was a quiet puzzle, carefully pieced together to guide others safely on their journeys. As knowledge grew, mapmakers began using compasses, astrolabes, and the stars themselves to chart more distant lands. By night, some mapmakers stepped outside to study the constellations, tracing imaginary lines from one star to another. The quiet hum of nocturnal life surrounded them. Owls calling softly, leaves rustling, distant church bells marking the hour. Maps began to show coastlines more accurately. Sailors' reports guided lines of bays, islands, and harbors. Some maps included tiny illustrations of exotic animals, ships drifting along rivers, or strange mountains. They were practical and beautiful, precise yet filled with imagination. Every star, every shoreline, every winding river became a gentle guide for those who would follow. Early maps were not only guides, but works of art. They were decorated with intricate borders, delicate illustrations of mountains, forests, and animals. Some maps included compass roses, painted in soft reds and blues, pointing travelers toward the cardinal directions. Mapmakers often worked slowly, adding details over days or weeks. Inked lines dried slowly, and pigments were carefully mixed to create soft, lasting colors. A gentle fire might warm the room, or a candle flicker nearby, adding to the quiet rhythm of work. Each map told a story, not only of geography, but of human curiosity, patience, and care. Through maps, people could imagine distant lands without leaving home. Mapmakers captured cities, ports, forests, and mountains, sometimes blending real knowledge with travelers' tales. Ships sailed across imaginary seas, and animals roamed across lands that few had ever visited. Pilgrims, merchants, and adventurers relied on these maps to plan journeys. Every detail mattered: the width of a river, the location of a mountain pass, or the marking of a quiet village where one could rest. Maps were gentle companions for those with wandering hearts, guiding them softly and quietly through a vast, sometimes mysterious world. Maps were treasured, copied, and shared. Young apprentices watched their masters carefully, learning how to draw, measure, and imagine. They practiced mixing inks, holding quills, and tracing the smallest details. Libraries and quiet workshops held collections of maps, each one a record of observation and imagination. Gentle whispers of scribes, faint rustling of parchment, and the quiet tapping of quills filled the air. In this way, knowledge traveled softly from hand to hand across generations, guiding future travelers and scholars alike. Now, as your eyes grow heavy, imagine yourself surrounded by softly glowing maps, tracing rivers, mountains, and coastlines with your finger.